This is Join Us in France, episode 279. Bonjour, I'm Annie Sargent, and today's episode is a trip report with Deepa Seonie about her family vacation in Provence and the Alps. She came to France with her husband, daughter, and son, and they're about 9 to 12, looks like. We talk about Aix-en-Provence, Cassis, les Calanques, Nimes, Pont du Gard, the Haribo Candy Museum, yummy, Sault, the Lavender Fields, Notre Dame de Sénanques, of course, speaking of lavender fields, and lots more in Provence. They also went to Annecy, Chamonix, Yvoire, Mer de Glace, and how they wish they had done the Aiguille du Midi instead. And Seonie explains how you should not go nuts over Yelp reviews in France because they don't matter very much, and how to get your VAT tax refunded when you get to the airport to fly home, and general good practice when visiting France. Anyway, she has a lot of inspiration for all of us. And I know as I record this, none of us can travel, but you know what? It will pass. And pretty soon we'll all be traveling again. And of course, I'll also give you a brief update on the pandemic in France after the interview. Show notes for this episode are on joinusinfrance.com/279, the number 279. And if you're planning a trip to France, the site is chock full of great resources. You should check it out. A few months back, I wrote and recorded an introduction for a new audiobook production of The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo, narrated by B.J. Harrison. And it is now a finalist for the 2020 Independent Audiobooks Awards. Congratulations, BJ. It's a wonderful book. I think you should listen to it. It's the edition by, what's it called? The Classic Tales edition. Bonjour, Deepa, and welcome to Join Us in France.
Bonjour, Annie. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Lovely to talk to you about your trip to France. You went to Aix in the Provence area and also to Annecy. So we'll talk about both of these places. Tell us a little bit about your family and how many were in your group and when you took this trip.
So it was a family trip. We went to France in July, end of July through August.
2019?
So we were there for 2019, yes.
Yeah.
And we were there for 14 days.
Nice.
And we flew into Paris from New York. We are in Northern Virginia, and took the TGV to Aix, and then rented a car and went around Aix and Annecy in the car. Then back to Paris through a TGV from Lyon.
Okay. Was that fairly straightforward, the whole TGV, airport to TGV to getting a car?
Yes, everything was pretty good. TGV was super comfortable and very convenient, very fast. We thoroughly enjoyed our trip, except that when we had to drop off our car in Lyon, that was a little bit of challenge. So I would suggest people give enough time. We actually missed our train and caught the next train, but all was good at the end.
Yes. So dropping off the car was complicated. Well, that can happen anywhere, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, so did you have your kids with you?
Yes. So we were a family of 4.
Yeah.
My kids, they're 10 and 7.
Yep.
And my husband. So all 4 of us went, and we absolutely loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So tell us a little bit about why did you pick France? Was this your first time in France?
So this was my second time in France. So France and I go a long way, and really, the love and for France goes like 20 years back.
Wow.
So So I was born and raised in India, and I learned French in middle school. That was 28 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And we had in our school, we had a French student exchange program. So a student from France, she came and stayed with us in our house for 17 days.
Wow.
And the following year, we all Indian students were to go and stay at their families' homes
Right.
for 17 days. Unfortunately, my dad canceled my trip for whatever reason. Yes, I was going to be in ninth grade at that time. The entire crew went, but I didn't. So that left such an impact on me that I always wanted to visit France.
Yeah.
And back in 2014, I spent 3 days in Paris, and that wasn't enough. So when we were planning our trip for the summer of this year, we decided France. And then I wanted to check off my bucket list of 17 days in France. So we did 14 days, and 3 days from earlier, I completed my 17 days. So
that's
Yes.
great.
yeah, so 28 years later, I got my 17
You
days
got
in
to
France.
17 days. Oh, that's great. That's a lovely story.
Yeah, and while that chapter has closed, my love for France hasn't. So now anytime we talk about vacation, I want to go back to France. I keep looking at tickets, keep looking at, where we can go. And there are just so many beautiful places in France.
That's great.
Yes.
All right. So this time you visited Provence and Aix in particular. Do you want to tell us what that was like for you?
So when we were looking at which cities to visit, we actually heard, thanks to whoever who suggested me join us in France group and the podcast, I think it was so good. And I heard a lot of podcasts to understand where we wanted to go. France is a big, big country, and every place is so unique. And I mean, you can never go wrong no matter which city you pick. But talking to my kids and my husband,
you could go wrong. There are some places in France that are not as interesting.
yeah. So no, depending on like where I've heard a lot of podcasts, and I felt that we could not go wrong with all the cities that you talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were looking at, we said, okay, Paris has to be there. You can never go with Paris, never go wrong with Paris. So we wanted to definitely include Paris, and that was our flight taking into Paris anyway. And then we started looking at, okay, southeast or southwest. We thought about Toulouse, and then we settled with Aix because we absolutely love the idea of being there and seeing the lavender fields.
Ah, yes.
So we and the timing was perfect.
Yes, that was the right time.
It was the right time. So we said, okay, Aix will be it. And I met a few people, and they highly recommended Aix. We were thinking of Nice. But then we said, okay, Aix. And for Annecy, my son loves paragliding.
Ooh.
And he did his research, and seems like Annecy is definitely the top places to paraglide.
Ooh. So how old is he again? 11?
10.
10,
Yes.
and he likes paragliding?
He loves paragliding.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you've got a brave little kid there.
Yeah, I mean, and he did it for 20 minutes, and he wanted to go longer. Unfortunately, those guys are very busy, and we couldn't get another slot for him. So,
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So did you stay in a hotel or go with an Airbnb?
So in Provence and Annecy, we stayed at Airbnbs. Yes,
Okay.
both the places.
Okay. So was your Airbnb in Aix?
Yes, it was in Aix and very close to the city center.
Mm-hmm.
So we could walk. It was like 10 minutes away, so it was perfect.
That's
in terms
great.
of location.
And Aix is not a very big city anyway,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
isn't. But
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So what did you like particularly in Aix?
Um, so we really like the feel of a small town and beautiful boutiques, and I loved walking around the streets and the coos, mihabu, coos mihabu. The
Haribo,
main,
yes.
yeah. So the open markets, they would have at night, and they would go for really long at night, and we really enjoyed that. And then outside in the city center, they had restaurants, and then the open air, they had a beautiful setting with all lights. It was just beautiful. Just walking around was a pleasure. You really
Yeah.
don't have to have an agenda when you are in X. You can just walk around, and it's so nice.
Right. I suppose you could go see the cathedral. You could go into a museum or two. But
Yeah.
if you don't love that kind of thing, you could just walk around. It's very nice. Nice restaurants, nice cafes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, we went to the cathedral too. Yeah, we saw that. And it was very nice. Yeah. And the boutiques. And if you're into shopping, yes.
Yeah,
This is a nice
lots
place.
of interesting little boutique stores with
Yeah.
interesting clothes and yeah, you mentioned hats in your notes and lots of I took so many pictures of just stores because they were arranged really well. They have a knack for making things really pretty.
Yeah. Yes. That's so true. Unfortunately for me, I couldn't shop that much because we had a small car. And yeah, and we had to go back. We had to go to Annecy and other places after X. So yeah.
Yeah, you
next
didn't have
time.
a lot of luggage.
Yeah, you can't have a lot of luggage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are there
And for-
some restaurants you recommend in Aix?
Yeah, so if you like Mediterranean, I think we had the best Mediterranean in X, and the restaurant's name is Divan d'Antioche.
Oh, close.
Antioche?
So it's Divan d'Antioche.
Yes.
Yes.
We loved their food. We actually went there twice. It was so good. It's the best Mediterranean we've had so far, so we really enjoyed that.
That's a good recommendation. Thank you.
And then there is a French restaurant, Charlotte, that we really enjoyed in Aix, so highly recommend that as well.
Okay, what else did you try there?
So, of course, we went by a lot of recommendations by you, and we tried the calissons,
Yes.
and we loved them.
You
and
love
we
them.
loved them. Yes.
Now that's funny because you wrote per recommendation by Annie. We bought calisson. Look,
Yes.
your memory is bad. Elise likes calisson. I despise them.
Okay.
She's the one who was recommending the calisson. I don't think they're any good, but that's just me. There's very few foods I can't eat, and that's one of them. Yeah, but most people love them. So
Yeah, we also bought them home. And every now and then, when it's like a special occasion, when I'm missing friends, that's when I would have the calisson.
Very nice, very nice. So then the next day you went to Cassis. No, sorry, not supposed to say the S. Cassis.
Cassis, yes. Yes, and we did the boat tour for 2 hours.
Ah, yes. So you went to the
see all the-
Calanques.
Yes, we saw all of them. There is a shorter tour as well, but we recommend the 2 hour.
Yeah.
It's worth every minute.
Yeah. So was this
very
like that? This wasn't a fast boat, right? It was more of a comfortable boat that doesn't go so
Yes.
fast. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the one we did.
Yeah, and what we were told that earlier they would actually stop so people could get out, but they don't do that anymore. So they would every spot they would just stop for a few minutes so you could take pictures.
Yeah.
And then go to the next one. But
Yeah. Yeah. It's a liability to let people swim.
Right.
What if they
yeah.
drown? Like.
Yeah. So one thing for Cassis, we recommend going on a weekday than a weekend because parking can be hard on
Yeah.
a weekend. And I think you mentioned that in one of your podcasts as well.
Yeah.
So we changed our itinerary around so that we could go on a weekday, and parking was a breeze.
That's
we were
good.
Very close.
That's good. The only problem with Cassis and parking is that you probably have a 3-hour maximum. Like you have to pay for parking, even if you park on the street. I don't know that there's any free parking in Cassis, but so you have to go back and feed the meter again, right?
We didn't have to do that. We were there. We were there, so we got a parking in the parking lot, and
okay, so you could stay all day
for the entire day. Yeah, we stayed the entire day there.
Okay,
and we
that's
didn't
good.
have to go back.
That's good. That's good. Very nice. So, what did you think of Cassis? What was your impression?
It was very beautiful, and we had the bouillabaisse at Nino, the restaurant.
Nice.
And it was very, very good.
Did you kids like fish?
Yes, we really liked the fish, and the host was very nice, and he explained how we didn't know how to eat it. I guess there is a certain procedure of how they serve and how you're supposed to eat, and he was very kind to tell us what we had to do, how to do the spread,
right?
And and then dip the bread in the dish itself. So it was a whole ceremony which we really enjoyed.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
Yeah, and then for lunch we went to a restaurant called Le
Bonaparte, yes.
Yeah,
like Napoleon Bonaparte.
And it was just amazing, and their daily special was awesome. So highly recommend that restaurant.
Very good. Yeah, daily specials are really good usually. I mean, once in a while you get a dud, but typically it's a good choice.
Yeah, I agree. And we just would usually pick from the daily special and the house wine. Oh my God, the house wines were so good. Yeah. I think we got spoiled. We were having wine with every meal, and coming back home is like, okay. Yeah.
What do we do now?
What do we do now? Exactly. The bread, the wine, the cheese, where's that?
Oh, there's good food in America too, but and nothing beats Indian food. I love Indian cuisine. If you didn't have to keep so many spices to make it.
Oh, yes.
That's the thing. You need so many spices, but so good. So good. Yeah. All right. So that's Cassis, and it looks like you would recommend people go.
Yes. Highly recommend Cassis. Aix is beautiful. Yeah, you can't go wrong with, I mean, our itinerary.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change anything.
It looks like you did it really smart. So on the third day, you went to Nimes, Pont du Gard, Uzès, and Haribo Museum. Yes!
So, Pont du Gard, so we underestimated how much time we would spend there. And we had to sort of rush through it. So if I had to change anything, I would spend more time there and just plan our itinerary the way so that you get good 3-4 hours there.
Yeah.
So at the end, we were struggling, and then we actually missed the open market in Uzès that we had heard about in the podcast. Unfortunately, there was some event on that particular day in Uzès, so they closed the open markets earlier, which we weren't aware of.
Yeah, if it's raining, nobody comes to buy, so they go home.
Yeah. So Pont du Gard was very nice. My son is a lot into history, so of course the museum was a dream for him. Reading everything was what he wanted to do, and then we had to rush him, and he was not happy.
Oh, so. It is a good little museum. It's worth going, definitely.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So, and Haribo, highly recommend the store. We didn't do the tour of the factory. Yeah. But we went to the store.
You just went to the store.
Yeah, and it was just amazing. The variety they had. We don't have. We get Haribo in US, but we don't get as much variety on the choices that you get over there. And yes, agree 100% with you. The strawberry flavor is amazing.
Yes. Yes, the little strawberries are fantastic. So Haribo, for those of you who don't know, it's a candy brand. And they have a museum that shows how they make the candy, and a big store where you can buy everything in massive quantities. And it's wonderful. The smell in there, oh, so good.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, my kids went all out, and I'm like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you need a trip to that before Halloween. That would be awesome.
Trust
to get
me,
ready.
my kids wouldn't give it away. They keep it close to their heart. They still have them, but now no sharing.
And then that day, you also managed to go to Nimes.
Yeah, we did. So we wanted to see the bullfight, and I researched, couldn't find really when the bullfights happen.
Yeah.
But now we know that they happen in June and September.
Uh-huh.
So we went there, we saw the arena, which was nice. And then we wanted to rush back to Aix. And Nimes was a big city to us, and we said, okay, we saw the arena and went back to Aix and spent the evening there. Yeah.
Yeah. Another place that I would recommend not to miss in Nimes is the temple. It's not called the temple. What is it called? It's like a Roman. Hang on. I need to Google it because I can't think of the name. La Maison Carrée. That's what it's called. It's a Roman temple. It's gorgeous. But it's a little ways away from the arena, so I can see why you didn't see both. But that's something for other people to consider and go to that if they have the time. Yeah, you packed in a lot of stuff in that day 3.
Yes, there was a lot. Yeah. And yeah, we've learned that not to pack too many things in one day. Yeah. Every place is beautiful. You need to just take it in. Yeah. There's just so much.
Yeah. So day 4, you went to Sault.
Yeah, we went to Sault. So the timing was perfect for certain areas for lavender fields, not so much for the others.
Yeah.
So we did the research and found that Sault still had the lavender fields in bloom. So we did a loop. We went to La Garde de Mar. It was a beautiful little village. It was really, really small village. Yeah. We had lunch there. It was beautiful. And then we drove through the national park.
Yeah, Parc National Régional des Baronnies Provençales. Very nice.
Yes. And it was a very scenic drive. We chose that over the highway, and it was perfect. And we stopped over at different lavender fields, and we also clicked the pictures. I believe I shared them with you.
Yeah.
And we were lucky to find a spot, an olive grove, which my husband loves olives, so he was very excited about that.
Yeah.
And my kids saw the snails growing on bushes, and that was like amazing.
They weren't growing on them; they were eating them. That's what snails do. They eat the bushes, and then they go hide under the rocks. Cool.
Yeah, and for lavender, so we went to this salon called Vallon des Lavandes.
Yeah.
Vallon des Lavandes. It was a slight detour from D164. And so this is a little place. They do tours as well. But at that time when we went, they didn't have tours. But the host explained us different kinds of lavenders, and we bought the lavendin and lavender, and we highly recommend that place.
Yes. Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, and it was much cheaper than the market. We got big bottles. We got them home. We still use them, and yeah, it's
nice.
Amazing.
Nice.
So for Sault, we recommend. So if for it's a great place to buy lavender products as souvenirs. There are little boutiques, little shops there, and they have tons of stuff.
Cool. And then you also went to Notre Dame de Sénanques, obviously.
Yes, we did, but it was closed by the time we got there. But we got to see it from far. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so you couldn't get... Oh, yeah, there's a gate. Yeah, you can't get close to it, can you? Yeah. So how late did you get there?
It was late. It was maybe 6 o'clock or so. It was. Yeah, so it's important. I guess it's important to see the hours before you make the trip down. Yeah. But no regrets. We got to see it. It was beautiful.
Yeah. You did pack a lot of stuff in most of your days, and so sometimes when you show up, it's closed. That's what happens. Okay, let's move on to your time in Annecy, because I can see the clock is moving quickly. Yes. So you drove, right? You went from Aix, drove to Annecy, and it was uneventful?
Yes. Yeah, the drive was easy, and we enjoyed our drive. And in Annecy, we stayed at La Perle de la Ville.
Okay.
And it's in the Old Town district of Annecy. And this was, again, an Airbnb. We highly recommend the place. The host is just amazing. He was very, very kind to us. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing about this accommodation was that this is in a 200-year-old building.
Sure.
And yet the apartment was very modern. It was a very small apartment. It worked perfectly for the family of 4.
Yeah.
But it was the host told us that he actually had a designer work with him to make it modern and make the most of the space. So this was great. And the open markets were right under the building, so it was perfect. We got to go to the open markets for breakfast and shopping.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. So I'll put I'll put a link if I can find a link to this specific. Sometimes they're not available anymore, and so the link disappears. But I'll at least give you the name of this particular Airbnb. It'll be in the show notes, and you'll also be able to from the show notes you'll see a button that says Guest Notes. And you'll see everything that Deepa has written for us. So you'll get to see it all.
Perfect. Yeah. And the host name is Ivan. He was very nice. I mean, my son fell sick in Aix. And it was a little, the last day of Aix, we had a little trouble finding the doctor. We couldn't... Folks couldn't understand, the doctors couldn't understand the English, and it was a little trouble. And then we said, okay, you know what, let's drive down to Annecy and we'll figure it out. And on our way, we heard your podcast on doctors, and it really put us to ease. It was like, and then when we got to Annecy, our host, he made an appointment with his doctor, and after that, it was like so easy. Yeah. It was unbelievably easy.
Yeah. Once you understand how the system works, and I can't remember the episode number, but I did a whole episode about what to do if you need a doctor in France, and just search "Join Us in France" for seeing a doctor or something like that, and you'll find it.
Yeah. So Annecy is postcard. It's like a postcard. It is picture perfect. It's where I think I left my heart. It was very, very beautiful.
Uh-huh.
The mountains, the lake, it was just magnificent.
Yeah.
It was very beautiful. And I have a long list of restaurant recommendations. So if you'll have the link, it'll be perfect. So we can go through that. But one thing is there that when in Annecy, drink the coffee from a coffee truck called La Boutique, and it was delicious. I loved their cappuccino, and so the 2 days we actually 3 days we managed to have coffee from him, because when we went to the doctor, found the same truck near the doctor, and we had coffee from him then. And we said, hey, there's one day when you're not going to be there, what do we do? And then he suggested that there is a Haven Coffee and Kitchen Cafe, and they buy coffee from him.
Oh.
So we went there when the open market wasn't there. So
That's great.
But their brunch was also very good, along with the amazing coffee we had.
So that's great. So you managed to talk to a lot of people. Did you use your French, or could these people speak English?
Yeah, so we spoke in English, but we started off with little words that we learned in French, and then we learned the tricks. And after your podcast, we said, okay, we heard your podcast, and we said, we got to make an effort. And we made a little bit of effort, and then it was just that people will go above and beyond to help us out.
Right.
That's what we saw. And yeah, you start with the bonjour, you end with au revoir, and that was your key to getting people to become friendly with you.
Yeah, it's like the magic word.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful language too. I mean, you have to make other people comfortable. Like, you can't just start off with English and expect.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about. I want to hear about this paragliding business that your son did. Where did you go for that?
So, paragliding, I don't have in my notes, but it was not too far away from the old town, Annecy. It was probably a 20-minute drive.
Okay.
And I can send you an email on I think it was KDO paragliding company.
Okay.
They were really good.
Yeah.
Very professional. I'll send you the
link. Yeah, to be sure. Yeah, because I'm sure there's other crazy people who want to do that.
Yes. So my son has done paragliding in Austria before, but he said this was totally different. It was beautiful, and like just the view of the mountains and the view of the lake, I think made it a whole lot of difference. And he loved it. He did a 20-minute, and
he wanted to do it again.
He wanted to do it again, but those people are packed. They're very busy.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find another slot.
Well, the thing is, they can only fly on certain days. The weather has to be appropriate.
Yes.
And so on those days they're packed, and then there's days where they can't do anything. So it makes a big difference. And you also got a boat to go enjoy the lake?
Yes, we did a motorboat, and we enjoyed the lake, and we swam in the lake, which was very nice, a different experience. But having done that, I would recommend a paddle boat over a motorboat. It just makes it easier to use the paddle boat, and I think that's why there were more paddle boats than motorboats.
Yeah.
Because the idea is not to go around the lake, it's to just enjoy where you are and enjoy just swimming in the lake. It's more of that, and it's not to really, I mean, we didn't go through around the lake.
Right. So was the water very cold?
No, it wasn't actually.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, because the only lakes I've ever swum in were in Utah, and they're high mountain lakes, and you freeze. It's very cold.
No, it was nice. It was a good day. It was a perfect day. We had to move things around, like you said, because one day it was going to rain, so we changed our plans, and we did the paragliding on a good day. So we moved things around.
Mm-hmm. So on your second day, you went to Yvoire?
Yes, Yvoire. And this was not on our itinerary until we got to Annecy and talked to our host, and he highly recommended this village. And it's by Lake Geneva, and it has the spectacular views. I mean, and the village itself is so beautiful, and a lot of flowers and beautiful homes, and it was just it was like as if I'm in a dream.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to have to look and see if I can find photos of Yvoire. I've heard of it. I think other people have mentioned it on the podcast before. But just I mean, it's just a village, right? But you spent the whole day there.
Yes, we did. And we loved it. We had lunch there, and then we spent the entire day. And actually, when we got back, we were doing some research, and it's considered one of the most beautiful villages in France.
Okay. Not unsurprising. There's so many beautiful places up in the mountains that way that it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next day you went to Chamonix?
Yeah, we went to Chamonix. And my son has asthma, so we were debating between Mer de Glace and Aiguille du Midi.
Right, Mer de Glace or Aiguille du Midi, yeah, because with the altitude maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so we chose Mer de Glace. We did like the ice cave that was there.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to do it all over again, we would do Aiguille du Midi.
Okay, that's good to know. Several people have kind of hinted at that they preferred Aiguille du Midi to Mer de Glace.
Yeah.
So, and you say, I would. Oh, so you said if I were to do this again, I would skip Chamonix and visit another village instead. So you didn't like Chamonix as much as you liked Annecy.
Yeah. So yes, we've been to Switzerland, and we've seen I can't remember anymore. Of course, I'm going blank on that. So having done that, we thought, okay, we've done something similar, but like villages in France, they're very unique.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've done Switzerland and gone to the mountaintop, I can't remember, it would be okay to skip Chamonix.
Okay. Good to know.
And that's just our perspective. That's what our family thought.
Okay. Yeah. Well.
And that may be because of we didn't get to do the Aiguille du Midi. Maybe it would be different.
Sure. You might have liked it better if you had gotten to do Aiguille du Midi. That's for sure. Yeah. And then you have some general tips and ideas about how to behave in France. Of course, the first one you already talked about. Always say bonjour and au revoir.
Yes. And it's good to carry your swimsuits because wherever there's water, you can go in. And we learned this much later and there was no turning back. But yeah. And
right, both in Cassis and the Pont du Gard, you could have swam.
Yeah, but we didn't have the swimsuits.
Yeah.
And one thing the next thing that I have in my notes was not to have too many things in a day. I think we packed too many things in each day. You may not want to do that. Just take every place is unique. If you just enjoy that and be on a relaxed mode, I think you get more out of your day. Yeah.
So you could take Deepa's list and just remove one thing and then you'll be good to go.
Yeah.
That's good.
And for restaurants, so what we learned almost at the end of the trip, not to go crazy over Yelp ratings.
Yeah.
Because some of the best meals we had didn't have many ratings on Yelp. And then we realized that, okay, as long as you've chosen French cuisine and you see some locals dining in there, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand that getting a lot of Yelp reviews is an art. And some restaurants are good at it. They're good at asking people, to review and blah, blah, blah. And there's restaurants that they don't even know what Yelp is. These are French people who probably they've never used the app. They don't know, they don't care. To them, it's like, what is this? So don't worry too much about Yelp reviews or TripAdvisor reviews, because you're dealing with French people, especially in the French countryside, that they don't necessarily they've never asked anyone to leave them a review because they don't know what the heck Yelp is.
Yeah, that's a good point, Annie. We never thought like that. And interestingly enough, in any restaurant we went to, they didn't even ask, or suggested that we give them a review or anything like that. So,
no, it's not important. To most French people, it's really, I don't think I have ever been in a group of French people and we said, let's go out to eat, and somebody pulled out their phone to look at Yelp. Do that. That has never happened, ever. Like, no. French people don't go like that. They just walk around, sniff around. Maybe they've eaten somewhere before and they liked it, so they remember and we go there. But we just don't, we don't spend as much time with our devices, I think, still in France. Some, but not as much.
Well, that's great, because in America, that's what happens. First thing is you open up Yelp. Yeah.
Right.
But
Americans,
you don't want to do that.
Americans need to read a review before they buy toilet paper. I don't understand. What's so hard about buying toilet paper? You've used it your whole life. Surely you can recognize what makes a good one and a bad one. So go with that. But no, people feel that they want a review. I'm like, no. Anyway, so that's just me. That's grumpy French person.
No, you're so right. So yeah, we had great food. Out of all the days, I can barely remember any restaurant where we didn't have good wine, we didn't have good food. No. In Paris, just a few things about Paris before we end this. Yeah. Le Marais. I absolutely fell in love with that place, and the shopping. Oh my God! If I have to. I would spend an entire day over there, which I didn't have, shopping there.
Yes.
Don't shop anywhere, but just go to Le Marais.
Yes. And again, you don't need specific recommendations, because you can just walk around Le Marais. If you take my walking tour, I take you on all the biggest shopping streets. The tour does. And you can pause it at any time and go in and see. But even if you don't have a tour, just walk around. It's full of lovely stores.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I have a few tips in my notes about tax returns, so people may want to.
This is something I know absolutely nothing about. So, if you can get tax back, shop at a store for over 175. Okay. So it has to be over a certain amount.
Yeah, to get a tax return, and over 175, except for and this has to be in one store, except for in Galerie Lafayette in Paris, where you can shop at different stores, and collectively, if you have 175 euro worth of shopping, you can get a tax return. And the way the tax return works is that you have to go to a particular gate at the airport to get your paper stamped, and it must be done before you get into the security line, or even before you give your luggage, because they may ask you, and actually not may, they definitely ask to see the items that you purchased. Like for us, we bought the perfumes, so of course we had to show them, and you can't. It's bigger bottles, so they have to be checked in.
Yeah.
So you want to go to the gate, get your tax paper stamped, and then when you go in, that's where the office is, where they handle taxes. Okay.
That's very good to know. Yeah, because since I live in France, I have to pay VAT tax, Right. But, that's very good to know. Okay, Deepa, we need to, we've been talking a long time. We need to bring this to an end, but you have been absolutely delightful. I'm so grateful for people like you who come on the podcast and share recommendations. And people always ask for recommendations for specific things, and you gave a lot of very specific recommendations, and they're going to be in your guest notes. So I think people will enjoy reading those.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Annie, for giving me the opportunity to be here. I love your podcast. I wish I had known about your past podcast much earlier, but absolutely enjoy listening to them. I feel close to France, still listening to your podcast.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And I always recommend your podcast to every person I know. So absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Deepa. You're wonderful. Thank you. Merci et au revoir.
Au revoir.
Thank you, Kiara Powell and Robbie Nunley, for pledging to support the show on Patreon this week. Patrons enjoy several rewards, and you'll find them listed at patreon.com/join us. That's Patreon. Join us, no spaces or dashes. I share exclusive content with my patrons, including help with your French comprehension, stories about France, photos, and membership into a secret Facebook group. And of course, patrons can message me directly through Patreon, and these messages are always top priority. I shared a new lunch break French last week. It's a bit of a riddle about a French heroine. And I just realized when I was writing this that I misspelled the word in the episode. I didn't realize that heroine with an E is a female who is a hero, and heroine without the E is the drug. English never ceases to entrap me. Anyway, the French is quite good, even if my English sometimes leaves to be desired. And patrons, you can get all of these rewards automatically delivered to your smartphone. To learn how to do that, if you, just like you do with the podcast, right? You subscribe to a podcast through an RSS feed. Well, there's a private RSS feed for patrons. And if you haven't done that yet, log into Patreon, go to the tab that says My Membership, and what you want to look for is something called the private RSS link. Read that carefully. It'll tell you how to do it. And then every time I publish a new reward, you'll get it automatically on your smartphone. So visit patreon.com/join us to see all the different reward tiers, and thank you so much for giving back. My thanks also to Judy Dennis for sending in a one-time donation using the green button on any page on joinusinfrance.com that says tip your guide. Judy wrote, "Hi Annie, hope this helped in some small way to keep your podcast going while no one is traveling. I have been listening for a year or so now, and your podcast and website were a fabulous resource for our trip to France last year. Still love listening and so entertaining and informative. Keep up the good work and stay well." So thank you so much, Judy. Sorry, I can't read. And thank you for your support. Thank you to all of you who support me, even though you cannot travel right now. I had conversations with tour guides this week who are at a loss as to what to do right now. And it's not like tour guides are the only ones suffering a loss of income this month. So yeah, it's difficult on all of us. And you know what? You can support the show without spending a penny you wouldn't have otherwise. Before you go shopping on Amazon, go to the bottom of any page on joinusinfrance.com and click on the Amazon ad. Because you came to Amazon through my site, I get a small commission, and it does not cost you a penny more. And thank you so much for remembering to do that. For my personal update this week, this is week 3 of the confinement. Things have not changed much in France, but hallelujah, the number of new infections is leveling off. We hope it starts going down soon. It's too soon to tell. Alas, the number of people who will die is not going to change because the disease will run its course, so that'll probably keep going up for a while. But last I heard, there were still 2,000 open ICU beds in France. And, you know, that might seem low to you, but France is not that big of a country. And there's a chance that the medical system won't be overwhelmed. They've been shipping critical patients to different areas of the country where they have more staff and more bed and all that. I haven't left my house other than my regulated dog walk every day, and it's getting old. But when I consider the alternative, I'm really, really lucky to be here. I will probably have to go shopping sometime next week. I was hoping for 10 days without grocery shopping, and I think I'll make it 2 full weeks. So, woohoo! I feel really bad for the people of New York, as there are now more infected people in New York City alone than in the whole of France. Wherever you are in the world, stay home. You don't need whatever you think you need. You don't need to go to the store to get something. Just stay home. And of course, eventually you'll need food. But if you plan things well, you won't need to go out for that very much. And I don't know about you, but in France, grocery delivery or pickup is hopelessly behind. I placed an order 5 days ago. Still no signs of getting a pickup appointment. I guess I'll just have to go to the store. I've decided that next time I go to the store, I'll wear gloves, which I did last time, plus a mask. You can't buy masks in France right now, and I can't sew to save my life. So I decided to make a mask with, get this, a dog pee pad, staples, and rubber bands. I have some pee pads at home because we have an old dog that takes diuretics, so he sometimes has leaks when he sleeps. And there's this video of an Italian woman showing how to make those pee pad masks on Facebook. If you want the link, I can send it to you. Just email me, Annie@joinusinfrance.com, and I'll send it to you. So I made some, and they're fine. It's pretty easy to do. But the trouble is they are so airtight that I can't breathe through those things. So I'll try a sports tube. You know these things that you use when running, or it's kind of a elasticy tube that goes on your neck, and it goes over your mouth and nose. And I saw a doctor recommend that if you use a scarf or a bandana, you can add folded paper towels inside, and that should be good enough for the grocery store. So I'll try that. Who would have guessed I'd be talking about wearing a mask to the grocery store 2 months ago? This is so bizarre. And if I wear a mask to the grocery store, nobody will care. So there. So be really, really careful out there. There are still people who aren't scared enough of this virus, and they will sometimes get right up to you. I'd love to know how you're doing, how you're adjusting to the new realities of this life. If you follow the show on any social media I post to, talk back, would you? I'd love to hear. You'll find me as Addicted to France on Instagram, at Paris Podcast on Twitter, and Join Us in France on both Facebook and Pinterest. I'm wishing you the best. Stay home. Plan your trip. Don't make a date yet. It's way too soon for that. And I'll be very happy to see you in France soon, but not just yet. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone. You're my only advertising. Send feedback or questions to Annie@joinusinfrance.com. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you next Sunday. Au revoir. The Join Us in France Travel Podcast is written and produced by Annie Sargent and copyright 2020 by Addicted to France. It is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license.